Before starting,
Yes.
a short prayer. Om, Om, Om. Sahana Bhavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Sahabhiryam Karavavahai, Tejas Vinavaditamastu, Ma Vitvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Peace.
Bolo Satguru Sivananda Maharaj ki jai, Sri Vishnu Devananda Maharaj ki jai. Om Namah Shivaya. So welcome everybody to this second class of this Eco Yoga Memorial Day Conference at the Yoga Farm, and it's supposed to be a retreat at the ashram, but now it become an online retreat. So we are very happy to have with us Olga Mandodari. She's a friend since many years, and she have taken the yoga teachers training course. She come to the ashram every year and different other ashram to teach about Vastu, and I learned the basic thing about Vastu from her, and it's very fascinating. She will talk a little bit about her background and how she come to learn the science of Vastu, and also what Vastu exactly means, and how it how the knowledge, the basic knowledge of Vastu will help us to live harmoniously and also to help the environment. So the talk of today is about Vastu and the care of the earth. So maybe you can start, maybe Mandodari, to present your background a little bit, how you come to learn Vastu, maybe short, and then other people will also present themselves, and then we will start the talk, okay?
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Swamiji. Om Namah Shivaya. Good morning, good afternoon. Whoever's here, it's beautiful. I'm so happy that you are here and I can share with you some fascinating knowledge which I received in India in 2005. My name is Olga Sokolova, and also I have a name Mandodari. It was given to me by my guru and Swami Sita also. I studied in South India, in Chennai, with Dr. Ganapati Stapati. He was a world-known architect, traditional architect. It means he built temples. I was born and grew up in Russia, and I was educated in Russia. I have a master's degree in civil engineering, and I also studied architecture for 2 years in Russia. Then I immigrated to United States, and I'm in US almost 30 years. And I went back to study design, interior design. So I wanted to share, to build and design something for people which would give them peace and tranquility, not only visual beauty, but also inner beauty, inner peacefulness. And I started my search about 2002. What would be that science? Because I think I have more scientific mind. That's why I have an engineering degree, because I need some calculations, I need some formulas in order to understand and to trust, actually. So I found Feng Shui teachings. I have nothing against Feng Shui because I think that knowledge is very deep, but somehow whatever India, the smells of the incenses, the music, it just triggers something inside of me, something deep, longing to this country, to this yogic teachings. And so this inner search brought me to Vaastu Shastra. I searched online and I found many schools in India teaching this science. But most of these schools, they would offer about 10 days or a week, and they give you a certificate and you're good to go. And for me, if it's a science, you have to really study and you have to spend time, and you need to have some information, valuable information to study. So I found enormous amount of ancient scriptures in India, which give me more trust that these teachings are ancient. So by search, I found a teacher, Ganapati Stapati. As soon as I looked at his portfolio and what he's doing, his photograph, I knew I have to go there. I didn't know how to get there because I worked as everybody else full time, and it was almost impossible to just go to India and quit my job. But it was such a strong pull that my husband gave up and said, okay, go. And I had an basically agreement with my family that I have to find a job as soon as I return from India, because otherwise it's hard to just, drop your work and just go somewhere far away in India. Yeah. And it was a miracle to me because I found a company, interior design company, who decided to wait for me for 6 months. That was a miracle because I'm not like a world-known designer. I was not. It was 2004. So anyway, I bought my tickets and I quit my job and I went there. And it was tsunami. And Dr. Stapati Ganapati canceled classes, but I found out about it like 2 hours before I was supposed to departure. So I was crying because it was very stressful because I didn't know what to do. And I asked somebody to let know my future guru, architectural guru, that I'm still coming. So I arrived to India and I was introduced to him and he said, Madam, do you know the class is canceled? I said, I know. He said, why are you here? I said, because I want to study from you. He said, what do you know? So I told him I read some little booklet of him. He said, you don't know anything. I said, no, I don't. He said, because you did not lie to me, you did not pretend that you know something, I'm going to teach you. So from that moment, I was the happiest person in the world because he accepted me. And till he died, we had a very close relationship as a guru and a student. So I called him actually Appa. His photograph is right here. Just wanted to show you this. His book, he was Tamil. Tamilian culture or Dravidian culture is very ancient. So they're one of the most ancient nations of India, because in India, probably they speak more than 100 languages. So Dravidians are very, very ancient. And Dr. Stapati had suitcases of palm leaves, ancient manuscripts about these teachings. And he was 11th generation of traditional architects. So I have to mention what traditional architecture is. So basically that is the essence of Vaastu Shastra. So Vastu is energy, Vastu with one A. Vaastu, two A's, or they pronounce like R. It's energy encapsulated in matter. So in order to understand what is energy encapsulated in matter, I had to study basics of Vedanta, and that's what Sivananda Ashram was teaching me. And by the way, Dr. Stapati brought me to Sivananda Ashram because he was invited in 2007 to Canada. And that's how I found about Sivananda Ashram. And that's how I found about this incredible people and this big community. So from 2007, I go to ashram every year, Canada, California, in Europe, I was traveling, and so on. Anyway, so that could go for long. I could tell you beautiful things about ashram I learned. And I also graduated as a yoga student, a teacher. Because without knowledge of Vedanta, you will not be able to understand Vastu Shastra teachings, because the concepts are about single source of existence. And that helped me to understand Vastu Shastra. So I would like to basically introduce today to you, because our topic is caring for the planet. So according to Vedic teachings, everything is alive. Planet is alive. It's not just a beautiful sphere with lots of water and land mass. It's actually alive, and it has a name. So it has a name, Bhumi. So let me share. At this point, I would like to switch, and I will start showing my presentation, because what I learned in India with Dr. Ganapati Stapati, which blew my mind, because the first we will study cosmology. And that was very different concept of understanding the reality for me. And it opened to me a totally different world totally different understanding about life and existence and planet Earth and the cosmos itself, about energies and how it is all works together. So the goal of this lecture is to introduce basics of Vaastu Shastra, and most important, to show you our inner connection with planet Earth and connection of planet Earth with the cosmos itself, because there is a balance. So we are actually interconnected. So if we are in balance with our house, and the house is plugged in the energy grid of the planet, which I'm going to explain what it is, then the house is charged with energy. It's like, in order to turn on my lamp, I have to plug it in, right? So to get electricity. The same, I have to plug in a house into the grid of energy of the planet, which is also grid of energy of the cosmos, because the planet is in balance in the cosmos. So we are plugging in our houses in the universal energy, and we get charged in these houses. And the houses would actually give us some energy and peace instead of draining us, because without knowledge, people build, I'm sorry to say, ugly houses. And so in order to, so we have to bring this knowledge to people to start building proper buildings so they're peaceful. And we have to start developing and designing new cities, which will be also peaceful. And we'll talk about this, yeah? Okay, well, now I'm going to switch my screen to PowerPoint presentation, because in India, they told me that we think by images first. So the light is first and the sound comes, and it's all together. So that's why having illustration, it will give you a deeper understanding, and it will be always there in your mind. These images will be stored in your subconscious mind. So let's start. So I'm going to share. Okay, so can you see my screen? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so we have the name of the presentations, Caring for Our Planet Earth. So this has got this, there are several names, Prithvi or also Bhumi. So there are different names, but planet Earth is alive and it's divine. It's divine, has a soul, and it has pulsating energy in their planet. It's a pulse. So facts first, I wanted to introduce, to give, most people know, but sometimes we forget. I wanted to show you what the planet Earth is from the modern perspective, yeah? So as we know, it's a blue, beautiful planet. It's not that big, actually. It has this amount of water, land surface, 29%, water surface, 70%. So equatorial circumference, it's only actually 40,000 kilometers, which, or 24 miles. That's not much, actually. We can fly around the globe now. So our planet is really not that big, but it has incredible diversity of life on that level, which we can comprehend and see. Yeah. So as we know, so far, scientists didn't find anything close to that. I mean, they suspect there are planets like planet Earth, but they didn't discover yet. So our planet is a unique place, not only on the physical level, but also on metaphysical level. And I will explain to you why it is important also on metaphysical level. So this is just our solar system, and this is planet Earth right here, and that's a moon. And so the moon actually helps to keep balance, because planet Earth, as you know, not only spinning and making around the sun, but also wobbling a little bit. Okay, so the wobble, actually, the moon holds our planet not to wobble too much, because if the moon will disappear, we would be just going like this, and it will disturb environment. So everything has specific purpose. So our population, I found a very interesting documentary. It's a very fast kind of like 5 minutes documentary showing about growth of population from 1800 to 2020. So as you see, China and India, they have the most population. The question is why? I think because it's most ancient countries and they have an incredible amount of people there, yeah. So the climate is good, and so they're actually the most ancient countries, I think. But who knows? Now scientists are saying they found skulls in in Africa, so we came from there, possibly. So, but the population-wise, that's where we were, and this is where we are right now. So again, China is leading. It's more than a billion people. India is also more than a billion people. United States is the third, and then so forth. So that's where we are. It's a lot of people. We're 7.8 billion people on the planet. That's a lot, because before we were like below billion, yeah, only 200 years ago. So that's incredible growth in population. So we use a lot of resources. We actually not only use, we abuse the planet. And a lot of people think, and I am with them, that this virus situation is because we abused our planet so much that it's just basically we are paying back now. So this map, this chart shows how much trash United States generates. So it says we could build a wall 12 feet high from Los Angeles to New York, which is 2,000, almost 28. So it's 2,777 miles. So we could build a wall 12 feet high with tossed office paper every year. So we imagine how much forest we have to damage and cut in order to generate so much paper. So we would have 254 million tons of trash we generate only in this country. And somebody told me in Germany, one woman, I've met her in India, that actually a lot of trash Europe and United States ships in containers to third world countries to store there, and they trash it in the ocean. So we actually have so much trash in the ocean, you know by now. Plastic is like, animals are dying, fish is dying, birds are dying. So we have to wake up and stop, basically abusing our planet, because we have to think about our future generations as well. Oil production is also as incredible. So we consume 35 quadruple of, I can't even pronounce this number. It's actually billions of barrels. Yeah. So yeah. And yesterday I was trying to calculate how much oil, like United States uses a lot of petroleum products. Yeah. So actually I was trying to calculate how many barrels are in the Lake Ontario. And I figured out, I didn't show less numbers, but in 200 years, we would use up the Lake Ontario if we would use the same amount of oil. That's how much oil we use. So we use so much of the resources. We are creating disturbances in the planet, because the oil is also deposits under the earth, right? So there is a balance. So if we suck it out, we create holes. Yeah. So we generate this instability by our usage of resources. So we really abusing the planet, and the information and the knowledge is given to people not to abuse, but actually to save the planet. So for in 100 years from now, this is from National Geographic, we will completely cut off and the rainforest will disappear if we will continue with the speed of disturbances what we do right now. So, and that's why we have the green forest, you know, the rainforest actually suppresses the greenhouse effect. So if we cut it off, I mean, we cut off our roots from the planet, we won't be able to live here. 80% of animals and plants, they're actually in the rainforest. So animals are depending on the forest, on the trees. So we really cannot do that. 4,000 to 6,000 of species extinct every year from the planet Earth. because we basically disturb the greenery, we cut the rainforest. So a lot of oil companies are going to South America and doing that. So that is horrible. So unfortunately, we are definitely abusing the planet big time. So now I would like to share with you what the ancient teachings, the Vedic teachings, are, how they view the planet Earth. So because I studied in South India, and South Indian school of Vaastu Shastra attracted me because they have more scriptures saved in general, manuscripts, yeah? Because as you know, India was under Mughals, 400 years, 250 years under British. So 650 years of destruction, that's a lot. And so the country lost a lot of information. But the further south you would go, the more difficult it was for invaders to be there because it's very hot. A lot of forestry was there. And so it was not as much of disappearance of knowledge, and people were holding this information as much as they could. Because the British actually would even amputate sometimes hands of people who would practice Ayurveda, for example, because they knew the points you could push, and the person or animal would not move after that. So they were very scared, and British would amputate hands, arms of people who practiced Ayurveda in those times. So people would hide the knowledge. They were scared to actually share it when they stopped because they were afraid. So the South Indian school of Vaastu Shastra has a very incredible knowledge and deep information. And Dr. Stapati Ganapati would always say, Madam, it is science. It's not a fairy tale. It's not what people made of it right now. If you put this chair here, then everything will be okay. Or you put some, I don't know, 35 kilos of some metal and it's going to be all right. He did not believe in that because he said, Madam, if you have a skeleton, you have, flesh grown on it. The same with the house. You have a structure and you have the coverings. So house has energy inside as a person. So if the house is built properly, all organs are intact and it's going to function well. And it's going to create a happy environment for whoever is going to be inside of this house. So they looked at the planet as it is a live being. They looked at the universe as completely alive, actually an ocean of consciousness. And the planet Earth is also alive. It's a being. It's a being. It's not a pile of rocks and so many barrels of oil or so many gallons of water. No, it's just alive, and the water is blood, and the body is soil. So it is alive and it knows everything what we think. And it holds us to a specific moment when we're just not too obnoxious. Yeah, when we're go beyond the limit, then the disaster will happen. So we should not get there. So let's see how we can help our planet and how we can help ourselves by harmonizing our environment and living in harmony with nature, with actually also subtle nature. That's the aim of Vaastu Shastra. As Dr. Stapati wrote in his book, Stapatya Veda, the aim of Vaastu Shastra is to live in harmony with subtle nature. So I will explain to you what it means. So this is the book I received from Ganapati Stapati as a gift. He said, Madam, I think you're searching for this knowledge as well. Because for me, to find out the rules, how to build the house was great, but I wanted to know the essence of it, the depth of the spiritual teachings, why this is that way, yeah? So I found a lot of teachings in Vedanta, which I learned in ashram, and also from Ganapati Stapati as well. So this is a book written by Tirumular. He was an ancient saint. He was Tamil. He lived 700 some years, and before I thought it was a fairy tale. Yeah, in the Bible you see also some people live 700, 500 years. I thought, how is it possible? Apparently, if we do yoga and we do pranayama, we can prolong our lifespan. Yeah. So our intelligence, actually, it says that why we are so lost in general, why the yoga would help people, because we would calm down our mind and we will get to the subconscious, which is super conscious. That's where the Vaastu Shastra knowledge is. So it was Mayan architect who brought this knowledge on the planet Earth. Yeah. So, but our science, what it knows at this point, they started to understand that there is something is there which we don't see. Yeah. So for example, it says basically you can find a lot of information now on the internet, but you have to be careful because there is also a lot of junk, as we know, right? So we have to be careful. But anyway, so this, I everywhere have links from where I got information. So there is, for example, a binary white dwarf system, J06551, emits gravitational waves. Yeah. So what it means, Einstein said, in order to emit these gravitational waves, and we can record them here and actually find out about it. Yeah. Only if there is a medium for these gravitational waves to go through the space. So we think it's a vacuum is empty. Okay, scientists now know there is not empty, because 95% of weight of the universe is hidden. They don't know where, and they call it black matter. So Dr. Stapati said, Madam, in our Shastras, we know about it for more than 10,000 years. That's how old Vaastu Shastra is. We know more than that, that this is not black matter, it's white matter. What it means, it's glowing energy, which is not seen by physical eyes, but yogis, they can actually see it. So this glowing energy is nothing but consciousness. So when the universe became as it is now, it was actually a big bang. Yeah. So this is the situation, the space around the planet Earth. Interstellar space is not nothingness or void. It has actually consciousness, and that consciousness has structure. And Vaastu Shastra is teaching that consciousness has a structure as a grid pattern, as you see here on this diagram, because subconsciously scientists are drawing this. They have to show something in the space in order to show the folds, which they found recently, like 10, 15 years ago, yeah, that actually space curves around objects like planet Earth, around sun, around moon, it's curving. So it was a probe sent to space, and 25 years after, they were prepping for this probe, and finally they got the result that space is curving. What is curving? Something is curving. So ancient seers, they would say consciousness, and consciousness is energy, and it has its directions and it has a structure. So I found this incredible book. It's called Vedic String Theory. And it was this gentleman, he was from India. He was a scientist, chemist. So he lived in California when he retired. His wife passed away and he moved with his children, and he lived in California. When I found this book in 2000, so it was 3 years ago, I thought, oh my God, he's still alive. I want to talk to him. And when I found this, apparently he died like 11 months when I got this book. And so when I was writing thank you note to his obituary online, apparently it was still there. My printer started making sound. As soon as I put a dot, thank you, Dr. Anant Bhakta, for writing this book, my printer, without any commands, started making this sound. And by learning all these yogic teachings, I know now if you have this happening, something is telling you. So I believe he told me also thank you, because it was simultaneous connection. So universe hears everything, it knows everything, because we are immersed in it, and there is a structure there. So we have to be aligned with that structure. That's the goal. We have to align our houses with the grid energy of the cosmos and the planet Earth. We have to align ourselves with that. And that alignment will give resonance, and it will get us closer, not only on the physical level, we'll feel better. Yeah. we will produce more as human beings, we would work better because we have more energy. And actually it will give us spiritual growth. It will allow us to ascend spiritually faster. That's why planet Earth, according to Vedic teachings, is actually a Muladhara chakra, which is a first level of ascending higher up. So Dr. Anant Bhakta, he asked 4 questions. He said, what is this? He said, it's not his questions. He wrote this book 5 years. Yeah, this is the questions of science. So our science, he died in 2006. So that book was, could be updated now, but what he wrote, he was a real scientist. He said, there is a question, what was before the origin of our universe, or quarks? Yeah, that's what scientists found, the quarks. What is before that? What was it? What is it? What lies beyond quarks? And on molecular biological level, he said, what did life originate from, and what impels the evolution? How do we evolve? Darwin theory is just a partial theory, sorry to say that, yeah? So, and he said, the most important on the psychic level, what is consciousness? What is it, consciousness? So he wrote this book, it's called The Theory of Everything. It says, but in the preface, he wrote, the Vedas, they don't have these 4 questions. They said they have only one frontier. And so there is only one illusory frontier that separates transcendental world, invisible, from phenomenal, visible. So this is what yoga is teaching you guys, yeah? So there is so much more there, which we don't see with physical eyes, but it's there. And so Vaastu Shastra is teaching how to bring, Dr. Stapati would say, how to bring heaven to earth. That's how we would build, because we use a structure of universe, of space, we use that pattern for the building itself. So that's why the consciousness by itself emanates from peace, like beyond our understanding, yeah? So it's a peaceful state of existence. So if we will take the first emanation, the first structure of space, which created itself naturally, and we will implement in our houses, then we will build a mini universe. So our house will be a mini universe. And if we follow the directions, dimensions, and proportions, how it's supposed to be, then we will build this conscious living space, which is going to be plugged in into the universal grid of energy. When it's plugged in, it's in the consciousness itself. So you will have a conscious house. You can give a name to the house. So I'm not going to teach all this because there is yoga centers for that. Sivananda Ashram will teach you Vedanta, but I have to mention only that Vaastu Shastra accepts that it was a big bang. It was actually an explosion of consciousness out of excitement to actually create physical objects, life, and experience through these objects, living beings and stones, everything is alive actually, to experience the knowledge itself, the life. So that explosion was there, and it's a pure light of consciousness, basically bursted and created multiplicity of tiny little particles called paramanu, super atom, super atoms, replicas of itself from the core, so from that, bam, and this big bang basically happened. It was a flash of this incredible light, and expansion of space started. So time and space started. Before it was no time, no space. It was void, and that void is called sunyam param. So it's basically nothingness, but it's a huge potential of everything to become. So that's why on this diagram, I'm showing that the sound appeared, Om sound. This is Om, this yogis, they chant this, Om, but this sound is actually expansion of the universe itself, yeah? So that's a primordial sound. So if we chant this sound, we harmonize our energy inside of us. We become one. We actually resonate with universe when we chant Om. Now, who is spinning everything? As we see in microscopes, we see the atoms, we see molecules here. So everything is spinning. Shakti. They say Shakti is a feminine principle. So the feminine principle is moving everything and spinning. And it's this eternal energy which is doing that. So this is a modern diagram, but I added to this diagram the ancient knowledge to show you what it is. So our science is getting very close, and lots of scientists started meditating. So I have several slides here just to show you that Vaastu Shastra is not some superstition, because there are very serious people studying for years, and it has sources. So Samarangara Sutradhara is a very ancient scripture, describes basically, it was Bhojadeva. He was a ruler and this builder also. So they have lots of information about rules of how to design. Brihat Samhita is one of the first ones. It's translated, everything is translated now from Sanskrit into English and from Tamil into English. Then it was this Manasara, 7 volumes on basically Vedic architecture. Shilparatna Kosha, Maya Matam, one of the ancient, very old scriptures, Maya Matam. So Mayan was this ancient architect, Brahmarishi Mayan. The Dr. Stapati believed that he was the one who actually brought this knowledge to the planet Earth. And according to the scriptures, his name is in Manasara, his name is in Mahabharata, Ramayana, he is in many, many epics, known as a builder. So he existed thousands of years ago, and the knowledge was given to him because he did incredible penance. So this penance was acknowledged by consciousness. And he was, quote unquote, asked, what do you want as a gift? He said that he wants knowledge about the structure of universe. So Surya, divine Surya, the divine light, gave him this knowledge through some other being, because the knowledge can burn you. When you know too much, don't be so greedy, because that's why we get tired, because it's actually energy passing into us. Knowledge is information and it's energy. So we have to be very careful. That's why yoga is teaching you to do it step by step. Don't do it, don't overdo, yeah? Because we can burn ourselves with knowledge actually. And that's why we can destroy it, because we're not ready for certain things. So Mayan brought this knowledge, and Maya Matam was actually belongs to Mayan. But only there are 2 volumes left. The rest is lost. So there are modern books, like I would recommend anybody who wants to know more about art and ancient art, than Vastu Sutra Upanishad. So there are many books, modern books, and this Stapatya Veda was written by Ganapati Stapati. So there are very beautiful books there, and if somebody wants to study, here they are. So the building by itself affects humans and even outer space. How so? There is a gentleman, he's a Professor Mitchell George, incredible man. He's from Australia. So he did live in India for many years, and he studied architecture. So he wrote this book just for ordinary people, and it's a very useful book. It was republished several times. And what I like about his way, because he really digged into the ancient teachings, yeah, and he brought from this the essence. That's why I like this book, and I recommend others who wants to know more about Vastu. So he said basically that there is a number. So the number in Hinduism means a connection of invisible with material world. How is that? Well, I have an explanation for that. So number can be also described as frequency of vibration in numbers, yeah, of consciousness, of our frequency of vibration, which can be also described as nakshatra, your inner sound, your inner vibrancy, because you vibrate too, and we can calculate that. We can calculate building according to these teachings, given a perimeter, specific height, because they use a special dimension for that called angular. So their divine measurements are there, and they came, these measurements, from the space itself. and space is consciousness and has a structure. So we take this paramanu, multiply many, many times in geometric progression till we get to this point when we can use these dimensions about 2.5 centimeters. So this is the angular, yeah. So the angular could be a little bit more small, a little bit bigger, but we will focus on one angular, yeah? So this angular is multiplied by 24 times, and they call it kishkuhasta or cubit in the Bible. They use cubit as well, yeah? So the sacred dimension. So temples in India, Catholic cathedrals in Europe were built according to the sacred dimensions. Everybody knows about it, but we forgot. Most of us forgot about it. So what it means, number in simple words could relate to also vibration of the space or specific species, because everything is spinning. So we are vibrating, okay? So the goal of all this is to make sure that we create a new structure which is in total resonance with the earth itself and with the cosmos also. And that's how we create a link of cosmos, of the planet energy with us through our house, because we cannot change our vibration. We're born with it. We cannot change vibration of the planet. We cannot change vibration of the cosmos, thank God. Only we can change the parameters of the building. And by giving to a building proper dimensions, we encapsulate space inside, which is the energy, and we create specific frequency of vibration of space inside the energy vibration in the building to make sure that that building is going to resonate with you and with the planet. So that's how we create peaceful buildings. So these buildings are going to bring to humanity only positive because they are in resonance with nature itself. So, and also what they said in ancient times, that if we build a temple, which is the pinnacle of the ancient knowledge of Vaastu Shastra, the temple would be also calculated precisely. So if we build that temple properly, we position properly along the cardinal directions of the planet, then this temple is going to give us energy, and also it's going to resonate with the space and strengthen the divine energy, the space itself. But if we build up buildings without any knowledge, and they are destructive, they are in dissonance with energy, then we're actually weakening not only ourselves, we're weakening energy of the planet because they're on the planet, yeah, like a pimple. And we're also weakening the space itself. So we don't want that. We don't want to create disturbances. We want to flow with energy. We want to be in the river, in the stream, instead of trying to paddle against the stream. Yeah. So that's the goal of everything. That is Vaastu Shastra. So Vaastu Shastra is talking about this grid of energy of the space, right? And the space actually pulses with impulses of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it stops for a second or so, and it again sends this 8 pulses. So this 8 pulses, it's in the Surya Siddhanta, it says, are equal 1 blink of an eye. So when we blink one time, universe sent 8 pulses. That's why 8 is a divine number. That's why you do pranayama in 8s. You do inhalation 4, retention 16, exhalation 8. Because you are trying to resonate with the universe, okay? That's what pranayama is doing. So we actually had our neurons in 2014, I think, it was, National Geographic published research that scientist Van Wieden from Boston University discovered that our neurons in the brain, if you zoom in, intersect under 90 degrees only. So that my husband said, oh, you might be interested in this article. I said, this is exactly what I'm really interested because it says that space has a grid pattern in the space itself. That's Vaastu Shastra is saying. So the grid pattern is microscopic. It's in the space. Yeah. And so we have a grid pattern in our brain. So that's a replica of information field of universe and information field here. So in order to merge these grids of energy, our even physical structure of our brain, of our nerve system, with the universe, that's when you get resonance, you get enlightened. Okay, that's why you need to do pranayama. Okay, so this is the grid of energy. So grid, it's not only in the space, it's everywhere, in us as well. That's why we have a specific dimension, yeah? So we have specific proportions because they're divine. So our body by itself, it has a divine proportion. So if you take your palm, it's called tala. And so this, from here to here, it's supposed to be your face. So if you, after lecture, measure and see how many times, you're supposed to be, have 9 times this palm in your body. That's a good proportion, okay? So we are proportionate beings. We have actually a golden ratio in our body implemented, yeah? So this beautiful structure is in the space because it's space alive itself, and that's how it functions. That's why we see all the matter which is growing from the space actually with specific frequency of vibration. That's why we have specific dimensions. And the house is supposed to have also specific dimensions. They have to be calculated in order to resonate with everything, yeah? So 8 by 8, it's called Manduka Mandala. Manduka is frog. And so Manduka Mandala is an ancient grid. And so based on Manduka Mandala, lots of temples are built. So, so 8 by 8, we know now because universe pulses with 8s. Okay, that's why this is a sacred number. So we take that number and we use 8s, 4, 8, 16, 32 for grids of temples, of sacred structures. But if we build a house for a person where, you know, physical beings are going to live, so apparently manifestation of energy into matter, it's called manifestation, yeah? And the grid of energy changes to 9 by 9. So 9 by 9 is called Paramasaika Mandala. So that we use this Paramasaika Mandala 9 by 9 grid in the house. And that's simple, you know, when you know that. All right, so the big grid is in the space, the smaller one is in the house and in you as well, okay? So now the planet Earth has its own grid of energy as well, okay? It's exactly according to meridians and parallels. So according to cardinal directions. You do not use magnetic compass because magnetic north is moving, but you use true north, which is on all maps is shown. So this is axis of rotation of the planet Earth. So the Earth by itself, there is also named Bhumi. So it says in the Vedic teachings that the energy, in order to slow down, to create matter, because we vibrate slower material matter than the subtle energy. It's so fast, you know, it's light, yeah? So it needed to slow down in order to manifest itself. So there are 5 elements, Panchabhutas, creative elements. So the last one is earth. So the earth by itself has all 5 elements. Akasha, it's a free space, it's a light energy, yeah? Then the second element is air. Then the third one is fire. Fourth is water, and then earth. So they're subtle, but then they transform into physical. That's why we have all these elements and we are built based on these 5 elements. So that's why earth by itself is so divine, because it has all the elements of creation in it. That's why it gives birth to everything what it grows or lives on it. So the earth is, we have to carry for earth. We have to protect earth because it's alive. It allows us, we're like little ants on the planet, yeah? It gave us a house, a home to live here. On the spiritual level, I mentioned earlier, earth is also considered as a Muladhara chakra. So it's that energy, which is at the base of our human body, for example, yeah? So the earth gives us roots to start growing. So if we start distracting the Muladhara chakra, we will never grow. Okay, so we have to really think not only from the physical level of understanding that we're disturbing the equilibrium of the nature, we also have to think that we're disturbing the subtle nature of the earth and also of our own selves. We're cutting the path to actually spiritual growth for ourselves by destroying earth. So that's why we pay for this big price, you know, by earthquakes, by tsunamis, because we disturb the equilibrium. And when we think negative, we disturb space, because space is not based on negativity. It's actually based on positivity, but it has negativity as well to create a balance. So, but if we have so much negativity, like now bombarding about this virus, yeah, so we create a lot of disturbances. A lot of scientists now notice that a lot of people now sees vivid dreams. They are not good dreams, because everywhere this information of media is all about like how bad it is. Yeah. So we as a yoga community, we have to create a positive now wave to balance it out. Then virus will go faster away. Yeah. So the earth is our mother. So it has these beautiful names. It has chants. We can chant to Mother Earth. Yeah. That's why Swami Vasishtaji is going to do beautiful puja to for forgiveness, because we don't know what we're doing. So here we're trying to discover. So this is Vaastu Purusha Mandala. This is the grid of energy, yeah? And these elements are positioned like this in the house. So the cardinal directions are big sources of energy in the space as well. So the direction of north, for example, yeah? So in that direction, we receive some energy which gives to people more actually financial growth, okay? So the direction of the east, when the sun is rising, fresh prana, fresh energy is coming, yeah? So that's energy of the beginning. The west is where the sun goes down, right? So the day is over. So this is completion. The south, this is ancestors. So the spirits go that way first to the south. So every direction of the building and the universe, they give the same functionality, the same quality of the energy. That's why it's important to know which door supposed to be placed where in the grid of energy in order to get the benefits. So if we don't know, randomly place our doors, we can put our door in the negative vibration cell, and it will give us maybe stomach disease. Yeah, there are a lot of explanations there. We're not going to go through because it's a course, but we have a knowledge about it. So when we know that, we know what to do. Okay, so there are divinities there. It's not just some kind of mechanical energy. It's alive. It's alive. Okay, it manifested itself in many different ways, in many different forms, and every cell has a name, and that's a divinity which lives there and does its own work. So in order to know how this, you know, where is the positive vibration, we have to know the structure of the space, we have to know the structure of the house, and that's how we're going to use this knowledge to build house with positive energy, with positive entrance into the building, so it will charge you always with good energy, which is good for human beings, not the destructive energy. Yeah, because there is like southwest corner, a very corner pada, it's called Niruti, deaf. You don't want to have your door there. Yeah, so you need to know these things. All right. So the Maya Mata said, the measurement of the temple is in every way perfect. There will be perfection in the universe as well. So what it means, if we know what we're doing with construction, as I mentioned, we will create a very strong energy field in the building, and it will strengthen universe. That's for temple. And the planet Earth as well. But if we will build a house which has a very strange dimensions, proportions, and it will be sickening, so we're weakening energy of the planet, and we're weakening energy of the space, of the universe. Why do we do that? Well, we should wake up. We should start building properly and design properly. So every temple was calculated carefully to a specific deity. So that is, a being came to help us with its own energy. So there are temples of Shiva, of Vishnu, for example, Ganesha, you know, Meenakshi in Madurai. You have a beautiful feminine energy temple, yeah? So they would calculate to the energy of the deity from where it came, from what constellation, yeah. So they would take that nakshatra, it's called nakshatra, yeah, and they use that nakshatra, the vibration, in the calculation of the building, and they would know what the perimeter of the shrine is supposed to be in order that energy to resonate there. Because if the dimensions are incorrect, then it cannot live there, okay, because it has no space, it cannot sing its own song, vibration, yeah, it cannot do that. But if we know that, if we know vibration of that energy, we build the dimensions, it's acoustics basically, so we build the proper space, then the energy can be there. So when the Brahmins are chanting or praying in the Catholic cathedrals, they pray, in India they chant mantras, so they evoke that energy sound and it's there. So that's why people go there and they feel comfortable, because they feel the energy coming out from that space, yeah. So everything is calculated, and as you see this diagram, that is a grid of energy. It goes in the floor plan, and it also goes vertically, so horizontally and vertically, because the grid is actually multidimensional, yeah, as 4 dimensions, so X, Y, Z, and time, so 4 dimensions. So the space is multidimensional being, and it actually looks like a human being. This is a head, and the body, it's all calculated. This is called Vimana. Vimana is a flying chariot, so the energy can come down and fly out. So we can actually sit, meditate, we can come down by sitting, and if we are going deep meditation, we fly out. Okay, so the yoga teaches you that. So how do we build these houses? We find out, of course, where is the cardinal directions. That's a map, simple map. It shows north is always up. So let's say somebody bought this property. That was a project I worked with, somebody in Russia. So we designed like this project. I worked with one architect in Russia. So as you see, there is a grid of energy here, because house is calculated carefully for the family who is going to live in this building. Okay, so we continue these lines of energy, and they're aligned with cardinal directions with minor shift of 1 degree toward northeast. Because if we will align exactly according to cardinal directions, then energies will be too strong for our bodies, because that's for divine. So we have to shift to 1 degree only, or thickness of the thread. That's what they would write in the scriptures. House off a little bit, then it's good for humans, but it's almost exact, yeah. So that's the build, basically how we designed it. We know that this location northeast is water, so we have this fountain here. Northwest is air, okay, movement, so we have cars here in and out, they can go, yeah. So we have a bedroom right here, southwest, because that's earth. So that's, you sleep deep there because it's heavy energy. And the kitchen is right here. It's a southeast corner, because that's where fire zone. And in the middle, we have an empty space for energy to come down and spread in the building, okay? So that's the basics of Vaastu Shastra. So that's how this house looks like, okay? So, and thoughts in the physical body that you can study in basically through the teachings of Vedanta. The thoughts are not something, you can't, how to explain that? So basically it's invisible, but it's also visible in the sense that it has like a holographic structure, yeah? So when you think, you actually create immediately a pulse of energy, and that energy puts it together in little cubes, and it starts spinning, and that's your thought. So the thought has actually invisible structure. That's why Swami Sivananda also, he wrote a very interesting thing about the thought. The body with its organs is no other than the thought. The mind contemplating upon the body becomes the body itself, and then enmeshed in it and affected by it. So we become a body, and we forgot that we are divine energy, because we see this only, yeah, with our physical eyes. But we are glowing energy with a beautiful structure. Yeah, so the grid is there. So that's why we forget. So these teachings, they bring you back. The yogic teachings, they bring you back to inside. That's why they say go inside, because that's where the source of energy is. You go inside and you open up that peacefulness. These houses are peaceful because they're built, they're square or rectangular. Because if we will make roundish houses, energy will be moving there all the time. We would force it to move, but we don't need movement. We have enough movement outside. We need to be peaceful in our house. That's why our houses, they should be built from straight lines with 90-degree intersections of walls. Yeah. As soon as we have irregular walls, then we create a regular vibration inside. So we are not resonating with peacefulness. So that's the goal of everything. So to become peaceful again, to slow down in our life, and living in these houses, we will actually slow down in our thinking. By slowing down in the thinking, we will see more clearly what is going on in life, in environment, and then we will start contemplating. And through contemplation, meditation, and yoga, you will reach this high intuition and knowledge, and you will understand that we have to stop abusing planet because we are already up to the limit. Yeah. So, and that's why the teachings of Swami Sivananda is easy to read, because he's so up to the point, and it's very clear explanation. So what I did, I actually went and I looked at the biggest cities in the world, and then I looked at the grid pattern, how the city was designed by architect. Yeah. So I'm going to show you now biggest cities and some ancient cities, and you will see what was happening. It's so clear that people in the past had the knowledge, that we just forgot about it. So this is Tokyo is the most populated city on the planet, 38 million people. Delhi, 25.7 million people. Shanghai, China, 23.700,000. Brazil, 21 million. Mumbai, 21 million. New York, 18 million. Los Angeles, 12. Moscow, 12. Paris, 10. Washington, D.C., almost 5 million. So, and it's a long table, but so this is just for you to kind of refresh. Okay, so now we're looking at Tokyo, the biggest city, yeah, the most populated city. So as we see, there is some grid here pattern. See these lines and squares? So if you zoom in, you actually will see that they do have a grid there. Yeah, so the ancient part of the city actually has a grid, and it's almost 100% aligned with a slight shift, as you see. So, and the year it was built, started in 1455, Tokyo. Yeah. So when you zoom in, see, we have a grid pattern. That's very good for Japanese. Actually, it's very good for them because they knew what they were doing. So the knowledge feng shui is actually resonating with Vaastu Shastra for sure. And I think it's the same. It's just, you know, it grew its own direction. It took its own course in China, in Vietnam, Japan, Korea. You know, they have the same information as in India. And that knowledge was known to not only to India or China, that was spread through the globe. We just forgot. Because if you look at certain pyramids of Maya, they're also according to the cardinal directions. Why do you think it's the name Maya? Do you see connection with Mayan ancient architect? Okay, because in ancient times, ancient scriptures of India, they said they built not only vimanas, flying chariots, also huge boats. They could reach actually South America. And so the word Maya, it means knowledge which was brought in. So the pyramids of Maya, Dr. Sapati believed that it was built according to the ancient teachings of Vaastu Shastra. So Kyoto, the old city, 794 AD, Japan. Look how beautiful. This is exactly the cardinal directions, the whole city. I would like to go there one day, experience that. See, Imperial Palace, perfectly built according to cardinal directions. It fits in the grid of energy. See, the ancient people, they knew what they were doing. The knowledge of that time, they still used it. It's now Kali Yuga, we forgot about it. Yeah, we built God knows what. So let's see further. See, this is the shrine, exactly to cardinal directions. They didn't have satellites, right? Well, they knew how to do it. Somehow they knew it, and somehow that was ancient knowledge. So that's exact perfect fit. And if you go there, I bet you will feel extreme peace, because that's what it's supposed to do. Okay, now New Delhi, India. India has this knowledge, yeah, but New Delhi is not built according to the grid. Actually, it has radial directions. So it's a very hectic city, yeah. So it doesn't have much peace, and it grew without patterns, just like most cities now, growing and growing without good pattern. They don't build grids anymore. So it's a bit hectic there. Varanasi, I decided to look at Varanasi because this is the oldest city in India, Varanasi, yeah? So if you will zoom in, some parts are according to cardinal direction. And I was here in some places, I walked there, and I was in small cafe, and I was sitting there and I'm looking, I asked the owner if I could go and wash my hands. He said, okay, you can go wash your hands. And I looked inside, I had to go through the house. And it was a little step in the center of the house, square, with a little step down in the building, at the base of the floor. And I looked above, and I was like, oh my God, it's open to sky. That's a Brahmastan. It's called Brahmastan, place of Brahma, of creator. That's for space, for Akasha. I said, is this according to Vaastu Shastra? He said, yes. This is 250 years old building, and it's built according to Vaastu Shastra. And all these houses on this street, according to Vaastu Shastra. I felt that. I just was curious, like, to look, and it was proved. You feel peace in these buildings. All right, Shanghai. Swami Sita asked me yesterday about Beijing. You will see it also. Shanghai, also very old city. And if you will see also, if you zoom in, you will see parts are actually here, and somewhere in the center also right here, you could see some grids out there. So, but it's also overgrown, and then construction probably took, the unpredictable path. So if you will zoom into the old part of the city, you will see exact grid pattern. See perfect squares actually. The square is the side, the paramanu, the super atom, is actually mini cube. So that's how they build. If we use this pattern of the energy of the space itself, how it's constructed, then we are right into the grid of energy. So that's how they build. That's why they are powerful actually, So this is also one, I can't pronounce this properly. So this is also one of the oldest cities of China, 202 BC. Yeah, perfect alignment. Look at this, perfect. They knew what they were doing. Look at this pattern here, beautiful. It's very powerful place. All right, Beijing, same thing. I looked at it yesterday. Look at this. Yeah, they are here. All these patterns are here. That's why old city, if you go there, you will see it's according to cardinal directions. Go there, walk, and try to experience what you feel. You will experience peace. And you will be aligned actually with the cosmic vibration. So that's why you actually are closer to universal knowledge itself, okay? So this is a temple of heaven. Look at this. See, it's square in the center, and then they have round here because it's spinning. So they had the same knowledge, they built this, and it has the temple of heaven. All right, Forbidden City, China, perfect. Look at this, perfect. It's like Angkor Wat. It's like same, yeah, but it's a different culture. But they did the same because they followed the same universal knowledge, the Tao. Okay, now Brazil. Look at this, 1554. It's like spaghetti, yeah? It's hectic city. I bet it's hectic, yeah? So there is no grid of energy. So people started to forget. the essence. Some parts I started zooming in. See here, this is under the angle. And so it says, if the building is under the angle 45 degrees, you cannot live in this building. It means it's under 45 degrees to the true north. So that's wind. So that's a cosmic wind, a movement of energy. Okay. So if you live in a house in this area right here, that's cosmic wind. It's wind. People are here running around, looking for something. They can't find peace. They go for the, they just move. Here, people will have more peace. Okay. That's why people ask me sometimes suggestion, where should I look for a house? I say, here, you look for a house when the streets are aligned according to cardinal directions, and your house as well. Okay. Moscow, Kremlin, I looked at it. I mean, so unfortunately, it's not according to cardinal directions. Paris is the same. I looked at it. Yeah. So a lot of cities, it's 12 million people. Yeah. It's actually growing like crazy, Moscow, because a lot of people are moving now from suburbs, from other sides of the country. It's a huge country. I grew up in Russia, so I know Moscow is a bee house. Yeah. And so this is the, it doesn't have a grid pattern. It has a center, and all streets are kind of emit from the center. So architects, they used to use that pattern as well. There is a name to that, but that pattern is not according to the peaceful pattern. Yeah. So people are hectic there. They can't find peace. And this is a close out. This is Kremlin. Yeah. So it's kind of like a knife. So it's like a sword. Yeah. So we have a lot of problems, just Russia struggles, it's just, yes, it's changes, but I think governments should move out from here and build a new location for themselves, have a nicely, rectangular building shape according to cardinal directions. See, this building is off the cardinal directions, under 45 degrees, a lot of movement, there are a lot of wind, cosmic wind, no peace. Los Angeles, I was surprised. I was like, oh my God, look at this. They have a beautiful grid. This is actually the Universal Studios are right here. Okay. So maybe they're open-minded. Look at this big cube and everything is perfect. This is great. So Los Angeles, being so overpopulated, but it still has a good grid. But here in the heart, downtown, it's not, it's shifted. Yeah, it's shift. There is a shift here about 45 degrees. So that is a very hectic place. But here it's more peaceful. So here it's peaceful. Here is not. Washington, D.C. blew my mind, okay? Look, White House is also, I'll show you, perfect grid. Why? Because actually French architect, Lefant, he was one of the thinkers and actually producers of the plan of the construction of the city. He was Freemason. Freemasons had some knowledge of Vaastu Shastra. So they built according to cardinal directions. White House plugged in right in their grid of energy. Look at this. Perfect, just perfect. So that's why when I was discussing yesterday with Swami Sita, the current situation, and Swami Sita, that's why she said the United States is powerful, because the government sits in their, cardinal directions according to the energy grid of cosmos. Of course, we have different presidents, yeah, but overall, it is a powerful country. We can't deny. So we have 3 minutes left, 13 minutes left. Okay, so I am stop sharing. And so I managed to share all my slides with you. And I would like, if there are some questions, I'll be happy to answer. Tomorrow, I have also a presentation. I'm not going to use slides tomorrow. I'm going to go through some illustrations of the book, and we will talk tomorrow about more a smaller scale, about your house, about your room where you sleep, and how to find peace in your own space, even if it's shifted. Okay, so I'll give you some suggestions, because probably 90% of buildings are not correct. What can we do? So it is Kali Yuga. but we still can do certain things. We can rearrange certain things, and I'll talk about this tomorrow, and I'll give more practical information during my tomorrow's presentation. So this is all I wanted to share today. I hope you enjoyed it. I was very nervous trying to bring all this information in kind of condensed way, because it's volumes and volumes of work. It took me 15 years from foggy kind of understanding to zoom to the Paramanu, to the Yojivatma, to the clear understanding. And I'm still learning. It's non-stop, and it will never end, because the knowledge is, it's infinitive, you know. Well, thank you very much, Swamiji, for inviting me. Thank you. Om Namah Shivaya.
Mandodari, thank you very much. It was a fascinating knowledge. Thank you for sharing your research and the beautiful slides. And so we look forward for your talk tomorrow.